You woke up this morning and checked your phone before you even said a word. You scrolled, you compared, you felt a flicker of something, anxiety maybe, or emptiness, and you couldn't explain why. Here's what's strange about that moment. A man who died 2,400 years ago already knew exactly why it happened. He didn't have a phone, he didn't have neuroscience, he didn't have fMRI machines or dopamine charts, but he understood something about the human mind that most people alive today have never been told. And he wasn't alone. The ancient philosophers, the ones you were forced to encounter in a classroom briefly and then promptly forgot, were not dusty academics arguing about nothing. They were engineers of the mind. They were running experiments on human consciousness centuries before the word psychology existed, and what they discovered maps almost perfectly onto what modern science is only now beginning to confirm. This is not a coincidence. This is the story of what they knew, how they knew it, and why it still explains everything happening inside you right now. Start with a simple question. What do you actually want? Not what you think you should want, not what your job requires, your family expects, or your social feed suggests. What do you, at the most fundamental level of your being, actually want? Most people, when asked this question honestly, go quiet. Aristotle noticed this. He spent years watching people chase things, money, status, pleasure, power, and then watching those same people arrive at the destination and feel nothing, or worse, feel emptier than before. He called this phenomenon the pursuit of the wrong telos, means end goal, final purpose. And his argument was radical for its time and still radical now. He said that most people spend their entire lives chasing things that are not actually their final purpose. They are chasing instruments. What was that deeper thing? He called it eudaimonia. It gets translated as happiness, but that translation is misleading. Eudaimonia is closer to flourishing. It is the feeling of being fully alive, fully yourself, fully engaged. In 2010, researchers Matthew Killingsworth and Daniel Gilbert at Harvard published a landmark study tracking real-time happiness in over 2,000 adults. They found that people spend nearly 47% of their waking hours thinking about something other than what they are currently doing. And that mental wandering, regardless of the activity, consistently predicted lower happiness. What Killingsworth and Gilbert discovered in a laboratory, Aristotle had observed in the marketplace. The mind not fully present is the mind not flourishing. The person chasing the next thing is never in the place where actual fulfillment lives. But Aristotle was not the only one who had figured this out. Walk back even further. 500 years before Aristotle, a man named Siddhartha Gautama sat under a tree in what is now northern India and observed that human suffering is not caused by circumstances. It is caused by the mind's relationship to circumstances. The mind clings to things it wants and pushes away things it doesn't want. And this constant friction and this gap between what is and what the mind demands, he called this clinging tanha, which translates roughly as craving or thirst. The philosopher had no MRI, he had no data sets, he had only the instrument of his own attention turned inward with extraordinary precision, and he mapped a process that took modern neuroscience 2.5 millennia to locate in brain tissue. This is not mysticism, this is what happens when a brilliant mind spends enough time observing itself. Now go west, go to Athens 300 years before the Common Era. A man named Zeno of Citium is teaching in a painted porch, a stoa, and laying the foundation for what will become one of the most practical philosophies ever constructed. Stoicism. The core insight of Stoicism sounds almost too simple. There are things within your control and things outside your control. Your thoughts, your responses, your values, your choices. These are yours. Everything else, weather, other people's opinions, illness, loss, the behavior of markets and governments, these are not yours. Suffering, the Stoics argued, comes almost entirely from confusing one category for the other. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. You have access to all of it. The question is no longer whether greatness exists. It's whether you'll choose to awaken it, because the greatest version of yourself is not somewhere far away. It's built by the choices you make after this moment.